On the way to the moon, a new lunar lander captured breathtaking pictures of Earth. The mission was initiated by a company called Natural Machines. The probe, named Odysseus, landed in a crater near the moon's south pole on February 24, 2024. The commercially built lander was equipped with 5 scientific payloads from NASA. While its primary purpose appeared to be purely scientific, Natural Machines had another goal in mind. The American company aimed to conquer space and made waves when a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket took its chief private lander to the moon on February 15, 2024. Natural Machines built its own lander, Odysseus, and piloted it to the moon in cooperation with NASA. The lander was actually a payload container of the Nova class and was named Odysseus. The entire mission was highly anticipated as space enthusiasts around the world saw it as the beginning of a new era in lunar exploration. Odysseus was an ingenious mix of a cargo container and scientific measurement instrument. NASA's activities clearly demonstrate that lunar colonization and exploitation projects are continuing. Payload containers like Odysseus could deliver the first components and equipment needed for future lunar colonists during upcoming missions. The official objectives of the mission for the spring of 2024 included studies on the geological structure of the surface, radio astronomy, and precise measurement of lunar weather conditions at the landing site. What does Natural Machines and NASA really want on the moon? Would you have thought that private entities would promote lunar colonization? This type of cooperation is quite logical. In the 1970s, private entities even funded parts of the Apollo missions. Back then, the financial backers included radio and television companies who commercialized the moon landings for lucrative purposes. Natural Machines has very specific objectives on the moon. The official name of its cooperation with NASA was Drive Business Lunar Payload Services, or CLPS for short. This shows that NASA, and therefore the U.S. government, is increasingly open to private space companies. Natural Machines won the contract for a payload delivery through an official bid process. SpaceX has long cooperated with NASA and regularly conducts cargo and passenger flights to the ISS. This mix of space missions organized by both the government and private companies will make it easier for us to reach the moon. NASA wants to implement its Artemis project right now, and there is no turning back. In less than 10 years, the first lunar bases will be built, and people will live and work there. Odysseus was designed as a hexagonal cylinder capable of carrying about 100 kilograms of payload to the surface. It stands 4 meters tall and 1.57 meters wide, equipped with 6 landing legs. The Nova-class lander is powered by solar panels with additional backup batteries and liquid methane as fuel. NASA's payload on board included an innovative laser retroreflector array and a LiDAR system for precise surface mapping, cameras, radio wave observation sensors, and units for precise weather measurements. Odysseus also carried a small rover called Iris, which was designed to independently explore the lunar crater, while Odysseus would take direct measurements from the landing site as a stationary probe. The landing of Odysseus turned out to be a costly disaster. Odysseus landed on the moon at the Malapert crater near the South Pole on February 24. The probe stopped just 30 meters away from its exact target, which was actually a fascinatingly accurate landing compared to other lunar missions. Unfortunately, part of the landing gear detached during the landing, and Odysseus toppled over. The probe came to rest at a 30 degrees angle on a small precipice, and it quickly became apparent that some parts were unusable. The energy collectors got stuck, and Odysseus was unable to release the Iris rover. It was initially a disaster and a bitter setback for Natural Machines, but also for NASA. However, some of the measurement instruments were activated and provided valuable data to mission control on Earth shortly after landing. Soon after the landing, the lunar night began on February 28, and Odysseus was put into sleep mode. 14 days later, at the start of the lunar day, NASA sent a radio message to the probe, and Odysseus responded. However, shortly afterward, the vehicle ran out of power, and the mission was officially declared over. Despite the failure, the mission, which cost over $200 million, was still considered a success. NASA viewed the landing as a success, despite the tilted position, and Natural Machines remained optimistic about its ability to land future Nova-class landers on the moon more safely. The breathtaking pictures from Odysseus, taken with a high-resolution camera system, were transmitted from the lunar landing crater. The photos show the lunar surface in detail, including rock formations that resembled the famous lunar pyramids. This was exciting because it showed that this type of rock is very common on the moon. Rumors had already circulated about lunar pyramids, and scientists repeatedly emphasized that the structures from ancient lunar inhabitants were just optical illusions. However, Odysseus once again brought evidence. Lunar geologists gleaned information from these images, revealing more about the types of rocks, geological processes, erosion, and the lunar climate. Can you imagine that there were people on the moon in the late 1960s? Today, that seems so far-fetched, and we sometimes think that era wasn't as technologically advanced as ours. But that's not true. The Apollo space missions prove it. In the 1970s, a NASA astronaut even drove a lunar rover on the delicate surface before it was possible to land. Before this, probes had been sent to the moon to scout the best landing sites for the first astronauts. The Lunar Orbiter 1 probe sent the first photo of Earth from the moon on August 23, 1966. However, this was done using analog technology, with the film developed in space, copied, and then sent to Earth. William Anders, an astronaut on Apollo 8, brought back this fascinating color image of Earth. He also photographed the Earth's rise from the moon, showing the stark contrast between the gray, sterile world of the moon and our blue planet with its atmosphere and bright white clouds. Despite these striking differences between the moon and our beautiful blue world, we humans want to venture into space. We are simply an adventurous and exploratory species, eager to know what other moons and planets look like, and if they could become alternative places for us to live one day if we can no longer inhabit Earth. That's why we are heading back to the moon. More than 40 years after the first moon landings, humans will return to the moon. Elon Musk has launched a fantastic project aimed at colonizing the moon and making it accessible to ordinary people through tourism. NASA quickly followed suit and revived old plans for lunar colonization. The world's largest space agency presented the project under a new name. It envisions a space station that will later serve as a stepping stone for deep space missions, as well as a lunar base where colonists and scientists will live and work. Missions like Odysseus, NASA's Orion spacecraft, and various lunar orbiters and exploration vehicles are currently preparing for this next big adventure for humanity. 6 countries have now placed probes on the moon, including the United States, the Soviet Union, Japan, Israel, India, and China. It seems that the Artemis project is also becoming a multicultural endeavor, with more and more private companies involved alongside national space agencies that I am building more landers for lunar missions. Are you like me, surprised that you had never heard of Intuitive Machines before the Odysseus mission? This American company is quite new in the space industry, but it has been dynamic for some time. Today, IM is becoming popular because the company secured a significant contract from NASA. Initially, they build landers and intelligent rovers for lunar exploration, but IM has many more things in store. IM was founded in 2013 and is headquartered in Houston, Texas. The company is located exactly where it needs to be, as Houston has been one of the world's largest space hubs since the 1960s. Intuitive Machines is still an integral part of NASA's Lunar Payload Services program despite a small setback with Ulysses. IM's vision is to enable humanity to access space through the development of advanced technologies and innovative solutions. The company does not want to operate alone in this field and is committed to ensuring that more and more private companies support space colonization. In addition to developing lunar landers, IM will also develop other technologies for everyday tasks or challenges on the moon. These innovations must be special because the conditions on the moon are very different from those on Earth. The gravity, pressure, air, and lunar dust represent huge challenges for technologies, especially in outer regions. Consider equipment for horticulture or mining on the moon, such as shovels for digging lunar rocks, machines for processing water, lunar vehicles, or even crazy projects like lunar trams. As for future projects, the company plans to continue its lunar exploration missions after the successful deployment of their first lunar lander with NASA. Intuitive Machines intends to perform more lunar missions to push further the boundaries of lunar exploration. The company is already developing new versions of its lunar landers, which will be more robust, versatile, and capable of performing larger and more complex missions. These latest Nova C-series landers should be able to carry heavier payloads, conduct longer missions, and operate on the moon in more challenging environments. One of their priorities will be the exploration of the moon's poles, particularly the South Pole region, where researchers suspect there are significant deposits of water ice and other valuable resources. Intuitive Machines is working closely with international partners to achieve its ambitious goals. The company now plans to continue developing its lunar landers following the success of the Odysseus mission, with the second Nova Sea lander set to be deployed to the Moon in the near future. We can look forward to seeing what new knowledge this new class of lunar landers will bring us. If the landing goes well and the standard rover is deployed, stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for each new exciting video.